Welcome to the full moon in Scorpio portal. Oh my gosh, what a week of energy. I'm Renee Massey. I am here to guide the journey. My focus is always to give you the most potent information so that you can embody this journey, so that you can activate your senses, so that you can step back into your leadership and using all of these insights and information to support the path because a lot of times we're not really sure what's going on and what direction to take and what choice to make. And so I've been, I have been practicing astrology for over 25 years. And so I have found it to be probably one of the most potent modalities for helping to really guide different elements of my life. I really do have faith that my life is unfolding in the most beautiful, natural way. However, I also know that there are ways that I can be more intentional and can connect with very real alignments that are around me, that are also within me. And when we establish these connection and understand what the connections mean, like really understand what's being interpreted during particular celestial events and alignments and stuff like that, and then also applying it to what's happening in your own personal life and what is, naturally happening right now within the collective experience. Like this is where we gain wisdom, because we're now looking at the experience and we're able to kind of introspect and ask ourselves some questions while also observing how things are kind of naturally unfolding all around us. So this full moon in Scorpio, I have to say, does feel like and like when I'm putting it together and I'm looking at all of these other things that are changing and shifting around us, it does have very much of like a lunar eclipse kind of feel to it. It's not a lunar eclipse. I wanna make that real clear. This is not a lunar eclipse, but Scorpio full moons tend to be really like the most intense full moons because Scorpio is a very intense sign. It is a fixed water sign. It is a very deeply intense sign. It is emotional. It is, um like probing and digging deep into the forensics. It's the occult, the metaphysical, the taboo, sexuality, death, transformation, regeneration. All of these things are within the elements of Scorpio. And so now we have like this full moon, which is, basically a sign of completion. And I have felt all of this coming, just like because I do pay attention to all of these things. And so it's like I'm watching how these things are unfolding. I'm watching where the planets are and then how the angles and patterns are, how they show up and communicate with each other and what that means for us. And it's just interesting because you're basically watching this really amazing story unfold. And for anybody who reads tarot cards, if you've ever really like trained in tarot, which I do have a quantum tarot program. It's only $99. If anybody wants it, please message me. Because what I do is I walk you through like the major arcana. The major arcana goes from one or really 0 to 21. But basically what you have is a story that is unfolding. Every major arcana card, when you put them like from 0 to 21, it is telling a story. And it's the same thing for astrology. It is the same thing in nature, in the seasons, and cyclical patterns and events and stuff. We've just gotta be able to pay attention to what's going on because a lot of the times we're very busy and we're looking at other things, okay? And it's not too difficult to get distracted these days because there are so many different things that are trying to get your attention and pull on your energy. So the fact that you're here, thank you. Make sure you subscribe. Um, but let's get into some of like these really, really key elements that I'm noticing within this Scorpio full moon portal. And then some of the really strong interpretations that I want to share with you. So that way you have the authority to define how you want to apply it to your life. Okay. So as a psychic medium, it's always like I'm forensically diving into all of the information and the energy and stuff like that. I can give you the information. I can provide for you the interpretation of all of this stuff. But at the same time, like only you can really apply that to your own life. So it's like take what really feels in resonance with you. And then anything that feels like that doesn't really feel like me, it doesn't really sound like what I'm going through right now. Like be discerning, take what you need, leave the rest kind of thing. Okay. Okay. So one of the things that I think is really important is first of all, we're in Taurus season. Scorpio is the opposite of Taurus. And so those two energies are polarities to one another and they definitely pull on each other, right? So what's interesting about this particular transit is that this is not the only full moon that we're going to have in May. Okay. We have another full moon. It will be the blue moon. And it's going to come, more towards the end of the month and everything. And I will be talking about that in the time frame that, I need to. But we're gonna stay here and now with all of this because this is really, really big energy. But I do want to let you know that there in May we have 2 full moons that is called a blue moon. And so it kind of creates a very interesting portal. And so I want you to just kind of imagine that, now we have this portal opening with this, full moon in Scorpio. It is not going to close until like I would say the no, not even the Gemini new moon, because we will have yeah, Gemini. Yep, it will be the Gemini new moon because our next new moon is gonna be Taurus, and then we will have another full moon Scorpio, then we have the, Gemini new moon. So this portal is actually going to stay open until the Gemini new moon. So that's just kind of shows you that there's longevity here. We have a lot of time to sort through a lot of different things and we're not always given this amount of time. Usually there are things that move very, very, very quick. Sometimes it can feel like it's very, very stagnant and it's like, I just can't move this. I feel so stuck in it. I do not feel like that's what this is going to be at all. I feel like what's happening right now is we are having so many different things that are being revealed and unveiled in real time. And a lot of truth, like just kind of like emerging to the surface. Okay. And there's different reasons for that, the like why all of this is happening. And you may have noticed that you are feeling like maybe you feel like your entire identity is being rewired right now. Maybe you feel like your nervous system is starting to experience some upgrades. You're starting to move through and past certain things, like you're persevering. It's not just about being resilient, it's about like actually transcending certain situations that would have normally created doubt and fear and struggle. And really, I think a lot of the big theme with that struggle and that doubt and that fear is the illusion based limitations that we all live with, right? Like if you're a human being on this planet in third density reality, moving on to 45D reality, but like we have limitations because we can only achieve things based on what our body allows us to do. And so if there are things in your nervous system that are like based in fear, based in doubt, your ego is taking over and it's creating all of these frameworks of belief and identity. I think a lot of that is being dismantled right now because um, there's a massive shift in masculine feminine dynamics on the planet. Okay. Just a very massive shift. It's happening. And some of the contributing factors to this, like I'm also going to go into that because we do have some very strong feminine representations that it's not just for this particular full moon or for the next full moon. These things have been going on now for months, okay? And it's just interesting because what's happening is that, like, there's just certain alignments that, like, during these more potent portals, very specific alignments that are pointing at, um, this feminine energy, okay? Like, it's just very, 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 very prominent right now. And so what's happening in the process is that there's being this calibration. That means the old systems, and that's what you're also feeling in your nervous system, like it's on a collective level, it's on a personal level. Some of these old systems are really starting You can see it now real time. We've been talking about it, talking, 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 talking. It's coming, it's coming, it's coming. And we're starting to feel like these little, um, experiences of awakening and, feeling like we're stepping into a higher alignment with purpose and power and feeling tethered, on a deeper level to source energy, to Mother Gaia energy, to feminine energy. And so now, though, what's actually happening is because all of that has been taking shape behind the scenes and manifesting in the material world, now the systems are actually breaking down. Okay. And so it's going to be a breaking down of old patriarchal systems. Okay. Like the abusive patriarchal systems, the systems that are based in rules and limitations and no, you can't. Um, and you know what the other thing too is though, is that like we do have this global, universal, possibly concept of what that toxic masculinity and patriarchal energy feels like and looks like in our culture and society in the world. But I want to also really be very clear that we each have different ways that it has impacted us, right? So each of us are also on our own journey with all of this. And it can feel like maybe some of the thoughts and the beliefs and the different things that you I don't wanna like, it almost feels like a clinging, like you were clinging, like a gripping. Oh my gosh, I can see how this is actually gonna tie in. Whoa. That there's, like, this gripping and clinging to an old structure, um, even though even though you know that it doesn't feel good, even though you know that it's actually holding you back from the bigger, better things. Um, like it's not comfortable. It doesn't feel good. It's one of those things that probably creates a lot of emotion or anger, frustration, bitterness within when you confront it. You know what I mean? But at the same time, it's like you're still holding on to it. You know what I mean? Because we as humans, we are funny creatures. And we're such beautiful creatures. I just want to point that out. Where this is not about like um, condescending humanity. I feel like a lot of the things that have happened is like this breakdown of what it means to be human. And I feel like it's so important for us to embrace that we're human. You know what I mean? Like it's so important for us to embrace just the fact that we came here to have a human experience. And so in that human experience, there are aspects of you that are clinging and gripping, right? Either to old patterns and systems that you know deep down you don't like, they don't feel good, you don't even want them. In fact, everything in your body, in your mind, in your spirit is asking you to go forward, is propelling you forward to disengage from these old systems. But yet at the same time, the conditioning factor, the programming factor and the level of comfort of and not like because it feels so good. It's comfortable because it's recognizable and because it's predictable. Okay. So these are really, really, really key elements that are showing up in this portal right now, in this time frame. And so you may feel like there is a changing of identity, there is a changing of beliefs, there is a changing of how you're thinking, there is a changing of how you express yourself, what you want, what you're available for, how you're able to actually voice what you want and what you need instead of being like, I can't say this. I get in trouble when I ask for what I want, or people overlook me when I tell them what I need. And, I get gaslit and I'm, kind of shoved aside and all of these different things that we can experience in life, right? That really do alter what we believe is possible for us. And there's got to be something that's so much more intense and real and authentic and potent and, like so much more freaking solid within you that is coming to the surface, that is able to shine through the fog and burn the fog away so that you can actually start seeing things more clearly, seeing yourself more clearly, seeing your value, your worth, your intentions. Like all of these things are starting to become more clear. Okay. And there's going to be this deep excavation of all of this kind of like murky, mucky, gunky stuff, the emotions, the mindset, all of those things that have kind of been locked into the lower levels of your consciousness. Scorpio comes in and she's like, oh, we're about to excavate all of this out. We're going to dig around. I'm going to probe. I'm going to provoke. But ultimately, it's like masterful alchemy. You know what I mean? And so it is that lead to gold kind of concept because there are things that you have been carrying around that weigh you down, that alter how you see yourself. Like ask yourself right now, do I really see myself clearly? Am I seeing myself clearly? Have I been seeing myself clearly? When do I see myself the most clearly? And when I see myself the most clearly in those moments, what do I believe I am a vibrational match for? What do I believe is possible to create, to manifest in my reality, to bridge from one thing to the other, to collapse time around, right? Because all of these things are available to us, but also when we have wounds around visibility, wounds around speaking our truth, wounds about around belonging, wounds around like all sorts of different things, then there is automatically this thing in your nervous system that says, oh, this is not safe. Oh, do not do that. And there are some of us that will instantly back off from that. Like, no, I can't do this because instantly you feel like that resistance in your body and you react to it by a no, I can't, right? Like this reaction in my body is telling me that I can't, and so I can't. Then there are some of us that are like, I feel this thing in my body pushing me back, basically telling me that I can't, giving me a lot of like interesting symptoms within my body, a lot of different sensations and stuff. And it's not comfortable and I don't like it, but I'm willing to explore it. I'm willing to get curious about it. I'm willing to shove myself a little bit outside of my comfort zone so I can stretch and I can see what is it trying to tell me? Because every time we feel that resistance in our body, it is this is a messaging system. Your entire body, the entire network of your body is like a big ginormous messaging system. What? Thank you. And so there are messages that are always streaming through your body because you are a vast network of energetic channels, whether it be the chakras and the aura and the organs and the cells and everything in the nervous system and everything is speaking to one another. But right now, what I'm seeing happening is like we have like this opportunity to rewire like our entire consciousness, only to the level of readiness of what you are capable of holding, right? Because like I can get there, but can I stay there? It's kind of like when I was a nutritionist and I was doing nutrition coaching and weight loss coaching and stuff. And I can remember, women who were um wanting to lose weight, right? They could have been in their 40s and they're just like, man, I had kids and I've been in my career and I'm experiencing some perimenopausal symptoms and I really want to get down to the weight that I was like 20 years ago, like before I had kids, when I was just graduated from college and stuff like that. And I would be very clear and tell them like, what is going to be, safe and maintainable within your body is actually where my intention is to get you. Because even if you were able to get down to that very particular weight, then your college graduate weight, um, can you stay there? You know what I mean? And so a lot of times, even if and maybe you've had this experience too, where you really wanted to get to a level of income, you wanted to get to a certain weight, you wanted to reach some sort of a goal, but it's not just like a one and done thing. It's something that we have to be able to sustain and maintain over time because you can probably do anything once. You know what I mean? But is it something that will be long term, long lasting? You're consistently working at it and growing it kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? So it can't be a one and done with this. It's like, if you're not ready, then you're not ready. But then there are certain things that you are ready for. That's the thing. You know what I mean? There are certain things that you are ready for, and you can probably start to feel like that is percolating. You know what I mean? That's kind of like you're getting little sparks, you're getting little feelings that, something else is here, something else is coming, something else wants to come through. I'm thinking different, I'm feeling different, like something feels like it's rewiring. There's some difficult things too, because there's these truths that are also emerging to the surface that are maybe a little surprising, and they are related to the paradigm um, kind of shattering within the toxic masculinity and, now calibrating into more of a divine femininity and a divine masculinity, because it's not like we're here to eliminate masculine energy. We're not here to like do that. We're here to calibrate and bring harmony back to both of these energetic principles that are divinely orchestrated to work together in balance and cohesiveness. And that has just not been the way of the world for thousands of years. And so, with this new awakening, the new earth, the new consciousness, the new this, the new that, like all of these new things, right? Like this is us, like the next phase, the next level. We're getting more ingrained. It's starting to imprint deeper. It's starting to absorb deeper into ourselves. So, let's look at some of the patterns that are showing up through the cosmos that I have documented here that I really feel are the big ones that are contributing to this portal and how it's going to impact us. Okay. And so what we can do about that. Okay. So one of the first things that I really wanted to note is the fact that the Scorpio full moon is at 11 degrees. Okay. 11 degrees in Scorpio. And what that like, I was just I always look at the numbers because I'm always looking at patterns. It's not so much that I'm always trying to figure out the numbers. It's really that when I'm looking at the astrological chart, I am actually looking for patterns. And because I've been doing this for over 25 years, it doesn't really take me very long to start like kind of pinning together certain patterns. And so when I looked at the Scorpio full moon is at 11 degrees Scorpio, I was like, that is something. That is 100% something. And so the interesting thing about it is that there is like this Uranus Aquarian energy that is attached to the 11th degree. It's also a mastery number. I just want to point that out to you. Like 11 is a mastery number. And so when I look at the fact that the Scorpio full moon and everything that I have just said about like what it means to have a Scorpio full moon, now in the 11th degree though, that gives like a certain kind of um I don't know, a little flavor. You know what I mean? It's like there's a little flavor of this Uranian energy coming in. And what I love about that is that it's wanting to help you with breakthroughs. It's wanting to help you with innovation. It's wanting to help you like I said, we're rewiring like these things in our nervous system. I also feel like this is going to help us rewire certain relationships. Okay. I feel like certain dynamics have the ability to really shift within relationships right now. Uranian energy is also very much geared towards like independence and freedom and revolution. And so, like, it's really about like breaking the mold on a lot of different things that are no longer working. And so, like, hence the old patriarchal systems. It's not just this that leads me to that conclusion. Okay. It's like a series of different things that have all kind of culminated together where I'm like, oh boy, okay, this is what's happening here. And that's not the only place that I'm seeing really strong Uranian energy. We will get there. So, the 11th degree with a lot of this connection with associations and friendships and community, but also really like the breakthroughs, the innovative energy, the independence, the freedom, the revolution, like things are moving and shaking. And so Scorpio kind of digging into the like really digging into the emotions, the psychological stuff, deeper layers of consciousness, mindset, like fears, old stuff that's been sitting in the basement. Let's just put it that way. Okay. Like it's coming for you. So be prepared. And this is why I had said like it could very much feel like a lunar eclipse kind of energy. Because there will be shadow wounds that come up and inner child wounds and shadow identities and old belief systems that you're like, oh my gosh, like a lot of this is getting shattered through that revolutionizing energy of Uranian Uranus influence in all of this. But like I said, that's not the only place I'm seeing this influence. Um, so this is something to just really pay attention to, like how this is showing up for you in this portal. Okay, so one of the other key elements I wanted to bring up is that Venus is sextile to Saturn during this portal, and this is just very and it just makes me feel good. So Saturn represents responsibility. It is a very and you know what the thing too is that it's actually a very patriarchal planet. It's disciplining. It wants you to have a very strong work ethic, to be responsible. It's like watching your money, being very discerning, taking care of things, just really recognizing where your boundaries are, and so there's not a whole lot of playfulness and freedom, honestly, working with Saturn, but you get a lot of strong grounding energy that supports work and duties and all of those things are important because it's about growth and moving forward. You know what I mean? But not like 0 to 100 kind of moving forward, not like let me just shoot my arrow anywhere kind of moving forward. It's a more moving forward that is very deliberate and it has like a very particular pace to it. You know what I mean? Like there's an incremental pace to the Saturn energy. And then we match that with a sextile to Venus. Okay. Now, a sextile is a harmonious alignment. I love seeing sextiles. It basically indicates that there is a 60-degree difference between these two celestial bodies. And a 60-degree difference is a very good difference. Like they like each other here. They're getting along really well. They're like, oh, let's have a good little dance. And so, but Venus, like Venus is, she is our one of our really big feminine archetypes in this particular alignment. Um, Venus. She I mean, she's with Libra, she's with Taurus, and she works with these signs differently, like with Libra, which I'm a Libra, like Libra energy with Venusian archetype is a lot of pleasure and beauty and art and poetry and music and partnership and romance. And I love all of these things. But then when you put her with Taurus, it is about sensuality. It is about abundance and activating through the senses and a very deeply embodied experience of Venus. So they do have a little bit of differences there, but overall, they are both really, really deeply connected into Venusian energy. And so Venus here is wanting to explore something really beautiful within Saturn. She's saying to Saturn, look at how beautiful everything is. Look at how wonderful it can all be. Can you feel it within you that we can actually move in this very beautiful, peaceful, aligning, like it's a harmonious dance she's doing as she's walking through. And she's kind of letting Saturn know that it doesn't have to be so limiting. It doesn't have to be so hard. It doesn't have to be so like stop, go, stop, go, stop, go. Cause Saturn's like, I have to check in, I have to make sure. And because it has like this control issue with it. And so Venus is like wanting to, I don't know, I feel like throw beautiful rose petals onto Saturn and just say, like, let's be in this dance together. We can take care of business. We can do all of the things. We can do it all in a very cohesive and conscious way, but let's have fun while we do it. Not meaning like being overly indulgent or, like putting yourself into debt or anything like that. That is not what Venus and Saturn are doing here. They're saying that there is a desire, there is something that wants to manifest. And with the deliberate and intentional grounding nature of Saturn, along with the love and the embodiment and the pleasure and the sensuality of Venus, there is a really beautiful relationship that wants to happen and show up for you. And so you might notice that some of your relationships seem like you're connecting a little differently. Maybe you're able to have a conversation about something that you have never been able to have a conversation about. Maybe you're noticing that you're falling in love with your work again. Maybe you're noticing that, there's just like this new pace that you're hitting in your work where it doesn't feel so and it feels more like I can find things about this that really do bring me satisfaction and enjoyment. Okay. And so like just really look around in your life right now. Like where is it where you could see potentially different things that have felt heavy and duty bound and maybe over managing and overstretching responsibility of what you have to hold and what you have to do now all of a sudden feeling like it's getting somewhat of a makeover, it's getting somewhat of an upgrade, it's getting refined in some way, right? So really just be aware of that happening right now as all of this is, getting kicked up and churned up. There are these other things that are like, woo, 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 like this is beautiful. This is lovely. This just feels like such a nice gift that I almost didn't expect and didn't see coming because things have been quite heavy over the past few days, right? So the other thing that I think is really important here is Mercury in conjunction to Chiron. Mercury is absolutely like he is the thinker, he is the communicator, he wants to sit down and have a very intense conversation with Chiron. Chiron and Mercury are talking together about like all of these deep wounds and really allowing us to see them, I think, a little bit differently. Mercury does not show up to Chiron wanting to, like, prolong suffering, okay? That is not what Mercury does. Mercury moves very quick. Mercury is fast. It's the fastest planet, goes around the sun the fastest, okay? And so when Mercury shows up, there is, like, this lightning. There is this, this very quick kind of, like, reaction, I think. He doesn't waste time. He's not here to have a philosophical discussion. He's like, let's get to the truth, let's get to the facts, and let's deal with it. And this is where I think it's really beautiful the way that the conjunction is occurring with Chiron because Chiron, the wounded healer, these wounds, they go very, 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 very deep, okay? And so there is something showing up right now in your life that wants to help you. I really feel it's not so much of, like, looking at the wounds, feeling the wounds, it's more, I think, about allowing yourself to see it in a way that you have never been able to see it before. Because there's a different intellect that's available to you right now, especially with some of these really interesting nervous system consciousness rewirings that are occurring. Mercury is asking Chiron, can we talk about what's real? Can we talk about what is true? And as we unveil that, what can I do with that? And you might be noticing that some of these like deeper fears about being seen, about being safe, about having control, about like being able to do the things and be the thing. But there's always like this piece that holds you back, and it is in your nervous system because it got embedded there from a deep wound in your childhood. And if anybody is interested in going deeper with this, please comment, message, email, do something to reach out because I have offered Chiron readings for many, many, many years, and I have found them to be extraordinarily moving for my clients. Like, we start digging into stuff. I use my psychic gifts to really forensically deep dive. I use my astrological stuff to really pinpoint very specific things as well. And it's like, really shining a light on the truth so that you now have the ability to move in the direction that you want when you're able to see something so much more clearly. Walking around in a fog and not knowing, like, you ever wake up and you're like, I don't know what's wrong, but something's wrong, you know? I don't know why I feel like crap today, but I just do. I don't know why I feel this way, and I shouldn't feel this way because things are actually going well, but I just feel this way. And And so it's like walking in this fog, and it can also feel like you're dissociating, like a freeze, an untethering to yourself, a self-abandonment of yourself. And so this is where I really do feel like there is an awakening. That's what it is. I've been trying, oh my gosh, trying to figure out this flipping word because it's a word that I know that really just needs to drive this point home. And that word is awakening. There is something new that you're awakening to, but it's old stuff. But it's a new awakening. It's something that maybe you knew, but you didn't have the availability of like this embodied consciousness to really make the connection and be like, ah, ha, 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 okay, I get it. And now I can move it. Where maybe it was before, yes, I know it's here. 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 But you're not actually really able to embody the shift that was necessary for you. And so I think that's going to be a very strong spotlight in this particular full moon is pointing out the wounds. Because again, Scorpio, it's going to dig around, it's going to dig around, and it's going to find what it needs to find. Mercury and Chiron, while all of that is happening, is having their own conversation. And they're like, yeah, we got to talk about all of these things because we've got to talk about the truth. It's just about the truth. Um, it's not so much about the feeling of the truth, but what the truth actually is. Okay. Next thing is Uranus moving into Gemini. Holy, what a way to kick it off. Wow. So Uranus, as talked about Uranus in the beginning, where it was like the Uranian energy of the 11th degree impacting the Scorpio full moon. And I said, "Oh, yes, Uranus shows up somewhere else." Well, Uranus is quite the outer planet and just moved into Gemini after being in Taurus for 8 years. 8 years, maybe 7, 8 years. Some with the retrogrades, it's a little like iffy, but I'm gonna say 7, 8 years. And when Uranus is in Taurus, and I'm actually gonna do another. I have another video I'm going to be um releasing that really goes much deeper into this Uranus in Gemini and like what it was like in Taurus and the massive, 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 like almost 180-degree difference between the energy of Taurus to Gemini. It's a lot. But Uranus, as I had said before, that Uranian energy really wants to break free of things. And so this definitely is a week of breakthroughs between the 11th degree stuff, between the Mercury and Chiron stuff, between like Venus, sextile Saturn. That one's more of like a flowing energy, but like a lot of things are breaking through. And it's almost like you're not even really able to see yourself the same as you did. Not because, like, oh my gosh, you're so different. It's really because the way you're thinking is different. The way that you are, like, I feel like also because Gemini is a mutable air sign that wants to go, it wants to travel, it wants to communicate, it wants to relay ideas, it wants to, it's about languages and linguistics and how we bring ideas to fruition, and it's just a lot of very strong mental energy. But I also when I see Uranus working with Gemini, it's like a lot of hidden thoughts, ideas, like, are all of a sudden now, like, really clear. It's like you couldn't move it maybe before. It was like trying to push a massive boulder up a hill, and now all of a sudden, it just feels like there's been a huge shift in, like, the air, and now all of a sudden, the way that your mind is flowing and moving and, it wants to go, it wants to innovate, it wants to change things, it wants to talk, it wants to communicate ideas. It wants to collaborate. It wants to, do all of these things and it wants to share it. It wants to bring people together. It wants a higher connection, like it's a higher connection. It's not like this really deep, anchored, grounded connection. Not anymore. It's about elevating our mind experience to a whole different dimension of thought and existence based on these breakthroughs and revolutionizing our thoughts and ideas and how we communicate it into the world. Like, it's a really big deal. And so I feel like it's taking things and it's like just knocking things around. It's rattling things. It wants to like revolutionize and that is going to feel very different and interesting for each of us based on the different things that could be being unveiled and excavated and different wounds that now you're getting like all of these different like truths about, that maybe really wasn't all that clear to you before. And now the last piece of this is Setna. Oh, Setna. I think I'm gonna do something in regards to Sedna too, like a separate piece because, I love Sedna. She is quite a large asteroid that moves very, 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 very slow. It's gonna take her 11,000 or so years to go around the sun, to orbit. And so she has been sitting at like 1 degree Gemini for a very long time. Okay. She's going to be a Gemini for a very long time and like 1,000 years, kind of a long time. So for the rest of our lives, Sedna will be in Gemini. But, and so in the other video, there will be an interpretation and storytelling of Sedna, if you're not familiar with her. For those of you who are familiar with her, then you're probably pretty clear on, her how her archetype functions and the story of how she became who she became, her rebirth story, her creation story. Um, but because of time, I'm not gonna go into all of that right now. I'm gonna save that for the other video. But just so you know, it's like Uranus entered into Gemini at the beginning of this week, and now is in a conjunction with Sedna, okay? Because Uranus is at 0 degrees. It will be at 0 degrees for some time, because it is a much more slower moving outer planet. I've already told you how slow Sedna moves, so she ain't going nowhere for a long time either. And what is happening is Uranus has to basically pass through Sedna, and that's gonna take some time because even at, like, 1 degree when they're in a perfect conjunction, they are also considered in a conjunction at 2 degrees, at 3 degrees, and then it'll start getting looser, but you know what I mean? Like, there's going to be, quite the time frame. I don't have the exact time frame because I didn't look at all of that. Like, when Uranus is gonna be moving into, like, the 3rd and 4th degree where it's gonna be kind of loosening that conjunction a little bit more, but I'm just gonna say, consider this to be a very strong conjunction between these 2 celestial bodies until you hear different. Okay. And not just that, they're gonna be at conjunction for a while with one another, and that means that they're just, like, blending their energy, and we've gotta deal with stuff, and I'm gonna go into that, but I also wanna just say that, um, because there are a lot of personal planets, that have not passed Sedna yet, they're getting ready to move into Gemini because they were in Aries for a while. Now they're in Taurus. Then they're going to be moving into Gemini. So Uranus is now going into Gemini and is like, okay, we're going to connect. We have things to do. But at the same time, because the personal planets move faster, there is going to be a time frame where there's like a cluster of planets that are all moving through Sedna. And Sedna is initiating every single one of them. Okay, so it's just something to kind of put in the back of your mind. I will go into it in more detail at another time when we get closer to those alignments. But really, like with Sedna, is she has a really, really strong influence over this year. And her influence is about breaking down the patriarchal toxicity, the older patriarchal systems that are very outdated and very unhealthy, to be completely honest. And so with her story, she was betrayed. It's a story of belonging. It's a story of rebirth. It's a story of creation, but it's also a story of betrayal and rejection and a lot of those really deeper, harder feelings that a lot of us carry, like wounds around belonging, wounds around neglect and betrayal, wounds around rejection and abandonment, and all of these things. Like these are deep wounds for us. And so just know that during this Scorpio full moon as all of this excavating is happening, and Uranus going into Gemini and revolutionizing our thoughts, and the 11th degree of your Uranus energy really hyping up this full moon. Sedna is also saying that what you are gripping, I'm going to cut your fingers off, because that's basically what happened to her, was that when her father rescued her after she was betrayed by her husband, her father comes to save her, but at the same time, he something happens where he's like, "Well, I can only save myself." And he tries tossing her off the side of the boat, and she grabs the boat, and she's clung onto the boat, gripping, clutching, holding on for dear life. And in a last ditch effort to save himself, he severs her fingers and she falls to the bottom of the sea, where there she dies, but is reborn as a creatrix of sea life, the mammals of the sea that would eventually nourish and provide for her, Aleutian tribe, or I don't know, Inuit or Aleutian. I think Inuit actually. I believe she was part of an Inuit tribe, so an Arctic tribe, and so this is like whales and seals and dolphins and, all of the mammal sea life were created from her death, and they were born of her severed fingers, and, she's here to provide for her people, but there's also a very strong message about balance here, like, you cannot be overfishing, you cannot be taking more than what you need. Make sure that what you take, you respect it and you honor it, and, you're grateful for the resources that have been provided and that you utilize all of the resources that have been provided for you. Um, but the big message here is addressing those wounds of belonging, betrayal, neglect, rejection, all of those deeper things, and then really watching where you're holding on and gripping on to the old systems, because those truths are starting to really show up about the wounds and, what you actually do have more control over and how you can actually elevate yourself. All of this is available now. And the aspect of Sedna that I do really love is the fact that if you don't take the time to take care of this, to address it, to encounter it, and allow certain things to take place for you, if you're fighting against it, if you're resisting it, if you're allowing fear to still be a governing emotion to how you live your life and move forward in your life, your fingers are going to be severed. You will just be cut away from it altogether. You cannot hold on any longer. And like I said, because all of these other planets now are gonna be moving towards her, they will all be initiated by her in different ways based on their archetypes. And so the Uranus archetype is very much about freedom, revolutionizing, independence, innovation, progression, and it's doesn't do it in like this, like, it's not asking for permission kind of way. It's kind of like, "This is happening. I'm about to break the mold. I'm about to bust through. I'm about to break through. I'm about to shatter the reality that you once clung to and the one that you believed in that was really an illusion. Like, it's time to wake up to a new reality, a new earth, a new consciousness, a new path of endless possibilities. And so Sedna is going to have a pretty big role in that this year. But it does feel good because even though some of these things do feel hard and can feel very dense and heavy and emotional, and there is fear, there is also release and relief, and, I feel like an opening, it's almost like there is a light at the end of the tunnel. It's not like you're going through all of these things because this is just where this is where it ends, okay? Like, submit, surrender, this is it, it's over. No, this is like, it's time to walk through, and you can see the light at the end of the tunnel. You've gotta keep going. You've gotta keep putting one foot in front of the other. You've gotta trust yourself. You've gotta really know who you are and what you're capable of, and you've made it this far. You've brought yourself this far. So there is no reason why you cannot keep going, and there is no reason why you cannot awaken to new possibilities and realities that are 100% available to you based on the work that you do developing your own consciousness and healing, right? So that is the full everything with this full moon in Scorpio. It's a lot, it's intense, it's deep, it's potent. It is a very strong portal of energy, and it is going to last longer than your average full moon because we have a blue moon in May. So thank you so much for being here. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you leave comments because I'm very curious to know what is actually happening in your own worlds, in your realities, in your own development, because um if you share some of that, then it will inspire me to create more. It will, inspire me to respond to what you are saying. I'm a manifesting generator, so I love to respond to what people are saying, and so if you can share some things of what you are going through and how you feel like going through this week and this full moon portal, it's only gonna help me do more for you in the long run, okay? So thank you so much for being here. I am just so grateful to be a part of all of this. This is so much fun because we're all in this together. Even though we have our individual paths, we are a collective of humans that is going through a massive transformation. So onward and upward.